Last week, someone in New York State saw a moose fall through the ice of the lake it was crossing. Word got out to the State Department of Environmental Conservation, and one first responder said there's no training manual for getting moose out of the ice. But after finding out the frozen crust was between 1 and 4 inches thick, rescue workers came up with a plan. They use a chainsaw to carve a channel the moose could swim through to shallower water. At first, the animal didn't want to follow the path they'd made, but it was afraid of the officials' sleds, so they used them to scare it down the icy channel. And after the 2 hours it spent trapped in frigid waters, the animal was able to climb out, eventually get on its feet, and then head off into the woods. One of the men involved described seeing that as amazing. Hi, I'm Carl Azuz, Azuz for the world from A to Z, and Fridays are awesome. Next topic is a penny worth saving. There's a debate about that taking place right now following a social media post by the Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. It's a temporary part of the U.S. government, not an official executive department, which would require congressional approval. DOGE was set up to find ways to make the government operate more efficiently, to help it pinch pennies, so to speak. It's led by billionaire businessman Elon Musk, who also owns the X social media platform. That's where a Doge post recently said it costs more than 3 cents to make each 1 cent coin. Pennies have cost more to make than they're worth for almost 20 years. Production of nickels also exceeds their value. The government has reported that Americans are increasingly using digital payments and credit cards for purchases, with cash accounting for less than 20% of them last year. But cash is still highly valued among many who use it. The Trump administration isn't saying it's eliminating pennies. Experts say the Department of Government Efficiency alone doesn't have that kind of power. But this has renewed discussion over whether the government should scrap the penny. Supporters say this would save tens of millions of dollars in making new coins, and that prices could just be rounded to the nearest nickel. Opponents say when it comes to the little things we buy, doing that would result in significant price differences that add up. Some observers also say it could lead to the elimination of nickels and maybe other coins, and there are concerns about the ripple effects of doing that. It may be possible for the government to use other metals to make coins more cheaply.
World of knowledge. Which of these brands does not contain the drug Semaglutide? Wegovy, Rinvoq, Rybelsus, Ozempic. Semaglutide, a drug originally approved to treat type 2 diabetes, is present in all these drugs except Rinvoq.
After the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved semaglutide in 2017, it saw an explosion in popularity over the years that followed because of its effectiveness as a weight loss drug. Because it's a relatively new chemical, health officials say long-term studies are needed to determine its safety over time. And if a health insurance plan doesn't cover it, a semaglutide drug can cost more than $1,000 per month. These drugs are part of a class of medications called GP1. They can help control blood sugar and lower appetite, and like all drugs, they have upsides and downsides.
They're a class of prescription drugs that are increasingly popular. 1 in 8 U.S. adults reported using a GLP-1 medication at some point in their life in a May 2024 KFF poll.
Initially, it was sort of conceived as a treatment for diabetes, but then people discovered that these drugs are very, very effective in reducing weight.
In a study published in the journal Nature Medicine, Dr. Ziad Al-Ali and a team of researchers sought out to learn what other benefits this class of drugs may bring. After analyzing data from more than 200,000 patients on these medications for an average of nearly 4 years and comparing them to those who were not on the drugs, researchers found these medications reduced risk of seizures, clotting disorders, fatty liver disease, and liver cancer. And they say there's a potential to reduce risk of neurocognitive disorders as well,
including Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And this is really a big deal because there's no effective treatment nowadays actually for Alzheimer's disease and dementia.
But researchers also found increased risks, including gastrointestinal issues, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, and paralysis of the stomach, as well as low blood pressure, sleep problems, kidney stones, kidney inflammation, and acute pain pancreatitis, which could be serious.
Has to be a conversation between you and your provider as to whether these GLP-1, these new medications are right for you.
I'm Mandy Gaither.
On this date in world history. January 24th, 1848, a man named James Marshall was working on a sawmill in California when he noticed something shiny in the water of the American River. After taking a closer look, he told his boss that he'd found gold. They tried to keep that a secret, but within months, tens of thousands of prospectors overran the area as the California gold rush was on. On this date in 1962, retired baseball great Jackie Robinson, the first African-American to play in the major leagues, became the first African-American elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. 1962 was the first year he was eligible for the honor. And on January 24th, 1972, a Japanese soldier named Shoichi Yokoi was found hiding in the jungles of Guam. He'd been there since 1944 when American troops took control of the island during World War II, and Yokoi spent decades trying to avoid being captured, as that was considered shameful for a Japanese soldier. He went back home to Japan, though it's said he was never content with how society had changed after the war.
Watch how a link between a brain and a computer allowed a paralyzed subject with no use of their limbs to pilot a virtual drone using only their thoughts. In a fascinating newly published study authored by a University of Michigan bioengineering professor, a quadriplegic test subject was outfitted with electrodes surgically connected directly to the part of the brain that controls motor function. Those functions were then programmed to a virtual hand, which was then used by the subject to pilot a simulated aerial drone through an obstacle course by simply thinking about their finger movements. Not only did the subjects successfully navigate the virtual course, the study says they did it with an unprecedented level of control, significantly outscoring similar tests using non-invasive methods where brain connections are made using the outside of the subject's head.
To the ancient nation of Egypt, we want to recognize the students and teachers of the International School of Cairo. It's in the Egyptian capital of Cairo, and it's great to have y'all watching. From the first state of Delaware, we've got the riders of Postal Wait Middle School with us. Miss Snyder's class is watching from Camden. From the Lone Star State of Texas, we see Mrs. Grantham's class. The Hereford Center for Accelerated Learning is in Hereford. And we're visiting San Jacinto, California, where the Wolves roam at San Jacinto Valley Academy. Hello to Mrs. O'Keefe's class in the Golden State. What day is it?
Today, January 24th, is Global Belly Laugh Day. It was established in 2005 by a laughter yoga teacher who promotes the health benefits of laughing.
Last night's low temperature for Montrose, Minnesota, about 30 miles west of Minneapolis, was 1 degree Fahrenheit. But a man who lives there says it's been even colder than that lately, dropping down to -21 in recent days. So to perfectly illustrate what that looks like, he's served up some pasta, and it is well beyond al dente. We don't know exactly how long it took for the dish to freeze in place with the utensils attached, but we could easily tell it was pasta point of spaghetti too cold to eat, cause you know, Chi, that when the temperature drops that far fale, anyone would tortella you that you macaro need to ravio leave the outdoors in a moment or so before your frozen dinner makes you papar delirious. I'm Carl Azuz, cooking up puns on the world from A to Z. Stay safe and warm out there this weekend. You mean the world to me.
You get a good tip?
$2.